Vice, I'm gonna make you the host. 1 second. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Boom, just like that. Here we go. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the
A
Record on.
very, very special edition.
Yes, ma'am, of Off the
Yes.
Record on the People's Podcast. I'm introducing the 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 two hosts today. We're flipping the script. So, Sister Tracy, Mohammed, it is on you, and Sister Faisa, the ball is in your court.
Okay. Well, welcome to this very, very special edition of the People's Podcast. We
Yes,
know Brother
man.
Joshua always uses that every time he introduces someone. So this is a very, very special edition of the People's Podcast where we will be flipping the script.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
because I am reaching my elder status, I had to adopt my daughter and tag team her in so that she can filter the questions. So I have a
Okay.
litany of questions of my own. However, if you want to join the conversation, I say post your questions, write in all caps, question, and then post your question. And Faisa throughout the show will be reading those questions so that we can get your questions answered in addition to all of this. So, Brother Joshua, welcome to the hot seat. Thank
Yes,
you for being
ma'am.
this very special guest on your show and your podcast. So, I want to ask you, how does it feel to be welcome to the People's Podcast, Brother Joshua?
Man, I'm honored that you would take time out of your busy schedule, your daughter, and that you would even inquire to interview what I have to say.
Okay, awesome. So, we're going to just go ahead and get into it because you
Yes,
never
ma'am.
wait, so I'm not going to have mercy on you. Okay, so the People's Podcast didn't always start as the People Podcast. It has evolved over the years. Can you tell us what inspired the People Podcast, when you got pregnant with the People's Podcast, and when you gave birth to the People's Podcast, starting
Yes,
from the
ma'am.
original name that you named the People's Podcast?
Okay, great. Yes, ma'am. And thank you for your question.
You're
Um,
welcome.
what to answer your question, about 4 years ago, it was my freshman year. It was my freshman year in college. I started watching Vlad interviews heavy,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned so much about the record companies and these record people. I'm a history major, and so I'm studying the history of music on by Vlad. But then in history, they're teaching us about primary sources, secondary sources, primary sources, secondary sources. And I'm like, man, in music, if you interview somebody, it's like, yo, he's saying this would happen. I can take that. In history class, we learning, well, you got to get a primary source, or you hear it directly from the person, it counts more than the secondary source, which is from somebody else. So I said, suppose I did the same thing for the history of the nation, the history of just people I see. I want to hear it directly from them, so it won't be a secondary source or he say she say situation. My sisters are very fan. Mimi and Naima, they're big fans of the Breakfast Club. So originally it was going to be me and my two sisters. That's how it was going to be. It was going to be a setup like that. It was going to be off the record. It was going to be us, and we started interviewing people. My sister Mimi started doing her children's book. She became very busy. My sister Naima became very busy, and I was away at school, so we couldn't keep the guests going. So I said, I'm just going to start doing one on one. And when I started doing one on one, that's what happened, and people started to view it, and the rest is history. Thank you very much.
So I know saying that they are proud of you is an understatement. And that explains why they are always of the first two people to tune in to watch you. One, because they're proud, but two, because you're continuing the marathon. The marathon continues through you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So, why the Nation of Islam? Why do you feel it's important to interview believers in the Nation of Islam?
Yes, ma'am. Great question, and thank you again. I believe my sisters. I think when you say they're proud of me, I pray they're proud of me. I also feel like they see me when the camera's off, so I think they think I'm crazy a little bit too. So, but the Nation of Islam, I feel, is the most misrepresented group of organization, if you will, to the masses of our people. And I feel that the most Missile Farrakhan is the most misrepresented man in the history of all men. I just feel my observation of the believers versus what I see on TV and movies and music is not the reality. Not that they're not some of us who be like, yo, peace my brother, peace my sister. Not that everybody, some of us aren't like that, but a lot of us like regular music, sports, and I just feel like that's not told. We're not shown the human side, that we're not just people who you see on the corner or you see sisters with a hair covering. We got trials and tribulations. It's beauty in the Nation of Islam, and I feel like we got to. It's on us to tell our own story, because the misconception of us is that we're always angry. We just think everything's racist. We just yell at all the time. You know what I'm saying? It's just, so I wanted to show people like, oh no, we got, it's a human side to us too. So I wanted to show that.
Yeah. So I love, especially when I'm able to catch your shows live. One,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
I get to see believers that I have seen throughout my tenure in the Nation. I came in at 16, registered at 17, was brought in by my brother, Abdul Rasul, formerly known as Brother Fontaine Muhammad. So
Yes,
many
ma'am.
of the guests that you have brought on, I've witnessed and watched in action. But the sides that you tend to bring out of them with your interviews are sides that, even soldiering with a lot of these people, I've never had the blessing of being able to see. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank
So
you,
my question is, you tend to touch on quite a few different topics that are consistent staples with your questioning of the believers.
Yes, ma'am.
Exactly what are those topics, and why do you feel the need to choose those particular topics? You do a lot of relationship talks. You pull a lot of the married millennials in your talks. You do a lot of the soldiers who soldiered personally around the minister, those who have secured the minister, frontline pioneers. You have questioned a lot of people. So what makes you choose the topics that you choose? What makes you think that those topics are so important?
Thank you, and thank you again for your questions, ma'am.
You're
And thanks,
welcome.
Ms. Vaiza, for just being there and waiting, staring in the camera until the questions come up. The reason I choose the topics that I choose, I try to stay relevant. I try to stay connected to what the masses of people are talking about. Mm-hmm. So if right now a lot of stuff is relationships, let's talk about it. A lot of stuff is, pain and hurt. Okay, let's do one on mental health. A lot of stuff, like I try to stay connected to the people the most, the best as possible. And whatever the people want to hear about, I feel like they know. Faith is something that a lot of people are lacking, especially during quarantine time. And so I try to bring people on who can tell their story to give inspiration. So I've had people who talked about overcoming cancer, molestation, rape, tragic things, but they persevered. And that's something that's universal through, regardless of race, religion, class, or creed. So if I can use my platform to highlight that and to connect the different people who would never see that side, that's what I'm about. I've had mothers who've been the victims, their children have been the victims of police brutality and murder. And they come on and they tell the story, and people are sad, but then they get hope, because it's like, even though that happened, look at the strength of the mother, look at the strength of that sister. Look, you know what I'm saying? So I try to give something that can connect to the people, but then inspire them at the same time.
Awesome. And you do just that. Like, I love hearing the interviews. I love seeing the expressions of the people. And I can always tell when you're totally into what people are saying, because you do this, I can always tell, I'm like, oh, he's feeling it now. Like, he's feeling it in his soul. So, yes, sir. Thank you for that. So I'm going to go from the podcast questions, and then I'm going to transition into the Brother Josh questions. So I have a few more podcast questions. What has been your most inspirational person to interview to date? And what was it about that person and what they shared that was so inspirational?
Yes, ma'am. The easy answer for that question, some people will be, of course, my mother. The things that she's battled with her health, and to see her still fighting, and to still be a believer in the true and living God and uncompromising. So my mother is the easy choice, but I'm not gonna say that because that's like my sister. I had to hear that later on. Oh, mama's boy. I don't want to have to deal with that. But I would say student minister Rasul. He did an interview with me, and he lost his sight, so he's legally blind. He can't see. I wasn't going to bring that up. That's not my place. He had glasses on, but he's just doing an interview. People knew, they don't, whatever. And then he's making jokes about his blindness, and I felt very uncomfortable and awkward. But then after he made the joke, he was like, "Because Allah's God, and we gonna." And I'm like, that just was so inspirational to me that he was sitting here talking to me when he can't see, but he got a sense of humor and he got his faith. To me, that's the most, I mean, my goodness. So to me, that's been the most inspirational one, because I'm like, man, he's, to know him when he could see, and see how his personality is, and see him that he can't see and he still has the same personality. That's inspiration to me, and it puts my complaints and things in perspective.
Yeah, that was a powerful interview. And I think in that interview, he said something to the effect of his ability to see better since losing his physical
Yes,
sight.
ma'am.
Like he actually
Yes,
can
ma'am.
really
Yes, ma'am.
see. Before, he thought he could see, but since losing his sight, he can really see. That was a powerful interview there. I think that's when I first started falling in love with the People's Podcast, because it was just like really powerful to me, and I was just, addicted to the People's Podcast. So on the flip side of that, what was your most difficult interview, your most difficult person to interview, and the most painful thing and difficult thing to hear in an interview?
Yes, ma'am. And thank you for the question as well.
You're welcome.
It would be the mother who I interviewed about 3 weeks ago, whose son was shot 76 times. And he was murdered by law enforcement. It was more than just the police. It was basically like a hit, man. They put a hit. I mean, they just shot him 76 times. And to see her describe it and talk about how she saw the body, I don't do well with that. Yeah. I like to fight. I like to, I play sports. I like to, war movies and things like that. That's more me causing pain or that. But the human side of it, to hear a mother talk about her son and she's choked up and I'm looking, I'm not an emotional person with tears and stuff. But if I was, I would have cried that entire interview, because my Lord, I mean, I just couldn't believe that her son got shot 76 times and she on here talking to me about it. Like, I just could not, so that was the most difficult one. And to hear her still say there's no justice and she's on the front line and that was sad. So that was sad. I don't like sad interviews. So that was the most difficult one I ever had to do.
Yeah. So what made you want to choose to interview her?
Yes, ma'am. There's a sister named Sister Betty Maddox, who has a group of mothers, like a support group of mothers, and they support each other and they, help heal who are the victims of gun violence and police brutality. And I feel like if I have a platform, as much as I post, sports, music, and regular stuff, I have to, that's my way of devotion. It's like charity. I have to do something to give back. I feel like if I'm not on the front line marching with them to, the protests or whatever, I can at least interview them to use my platform to highlight their story. So that's my way of giving back. It's like, okay, boom, tell your story.
Yeah, total platform, total opportunity, and a blessing. Because what happens when we are pained is that we either have the opportunity to be pummeled by the pain or become passionate because of the pain. And almost everybody that you have interviewed have become passionate about whatever it is that has pained them, from sexual trauma to domestic violence to police brutality to injustice. So whatever the case may be, like, you've given them a platform. So I salute you for doing that.
Praise be to Allah.
So my next question, who would you love to interview that you have not had the opportunity to interview, and why?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, once again, that's the easy one. The Most High Mitzvahs Farrakhan. The Most High Mitzvahs Farrakhan would be the easy question. I mean, easy answer. Yeah. But for me, it would be Mother Farrakhan, because I'm a firm believer that the woman has a way of seeing things a little bit more emotional, a little different. So when the minister may go be passionate, a man may be like, man, I was this, I was that. The woman, when she tells a story, is just different. So I would like to hear what it's like to be the wife of the minister, to be the wife of the mother of a nation, and to hear what it's like, her trials with her children, her trials with boom. I feel like a woman would be Mother Farrakhan would be my answer. The minister, of course, but we've had so many interviews with the minister. But a Mother Farrakhan interview, I think that would be ideal. Yeah,
and I think if you were able to get that interview, I think you would just crash YouTube, Facebook Live, Zoom, because she is so special. She is such a special human being. You can feel her love. Like you can just feel it. She doesn't even have to say anything. You can just feel it. It just oozes out of her pores. So yes, sir. If you get that interview with Mother Khadijah, I'm telling you, I'm gonna be like in here.
Yes, ma'am.
all four of my eyes are tuned in. You know, all four of my
yes, ma'am.
eyes. So I pray that you will get that opportunity, Brother Josh.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what made you transition from off the record in terms of naming to the People's Podcast? And was that when you decided to run with the marathon baton on your own and you just gave it a whole new name so it can have a whole new feel? Like what made you change the name and why that name?
Yes, ma'am. Well, what we're doing right now is off the record. The People's Podcast would be like the television station, if you will.
Okay.
And off the record it's an episode or is a sitcom, or you know what I'm saying, is a type of show. Top 5 is a type of show. The relationship ones are a type of show. You know what I'm saying? The People's Podcast is the entire thing.
The umbrella.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Off the record is just the one-on-one.
Okay. So we have off the record.
Yes, ma'am.
I've been disrespecting the name of this, but I'm still under the umbrella.
Yes, ma'am. No, because this is the People's Podcast. It's just, right now, because that's my way of telling the people. So many people I've interviewed are uptight, stiff, and they're media trained.
Yeah.
Many of us are media trained, whether we know it or not, to say the correct answer, be politically correct. So when I call something off the record, it's my way of saying, man, it's all good. It's just me and you. Don't even worry about who watching it. You know what I'm saying? It's off the record. This is just between me and you.
Gotcha. Well, I love that. And you do have a way of making people feel comfortable, because I'll never forget when you interviewed me my first time on your podcast. And I had never even used Zoom. I was like, but Joshua, do I have to download this? Walk me through this, sir. Like, what do I have to do? Like, it was so intimidating, but you made me feel comfortable, like, even with that process. So Allah has blessed you with a gift. And I think a lot that you're using it. So, Sister Faisa, do we have anybody posting any questions yet?
Yeah, there are actually 2 questions.
Okay, so we'll let those 2 questions come in. You can ask the first one.
All right, so the first one is from Brother Uncle David. And so he says, how is your acting career going?
Boom. Okay, thank you for the question, Sister Faisa. Thank you, Brother Uncle David. Okay, my acting career is going well. I just finished a cartoon on Sister Keelan Honda's cartoon mini series or cartoon series. Keisha's Changing. That was the first time I ever did voiceover acting. That's great. I had a film that we were working on starting this summer, and the quarantine happened, and now I just have to put it into the book form, and I'm working on that as we speak, because we can't be all around each other. So instead of me getting depressed and sad like I was, because I was like, oh, this is gonna be my breakout thing. I wrote this film. My brothers got the cameras, we got the editing, I got the people, and then Corona happened, COVID-19 happened. I was like, nah, you gotta make an adjustment. So I'm gonna have a novel coming very soon. Very soon. Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah.
That's awesome. Okay, so the next question is from Brother Elijah Mo, and he says, you have been around the minister numerous times. If it's you on post or at your residence, what is your most memorable moment?
Good question.
Praise be to Allah. And thank you, Sister Faisa, for your question. And thank you, Brother Elijah Mo, for being my comrade in this mission since we were 8 years old or something, since we were young children. Long story short, I did a speech in 2016, Holy Day of Atonement, at a youth conference that was held in Atlanta. And I got a standing ovation. Minister Rasul was there. I was very passionate about what I was saying about the hurt of the youth. It was at a youth conference, so I'm thinking I'm speaking to young people. But some people were offended by what I was saying in my speech. And I got kind of like in trouble from the panel, or like one of the people on the panel was kind of like, he didn't like how my approach, or I got whooped publicly in front of all of these people. And I didn't know how to handle that, because I said, man, the people loved it. I told the truth. I didn't understand what to do. And that was on a Friday. That Saturday comes, I'm nervous. I'm like, man, I don't want to disappoint the minister. his family's there, the people watching. My speech is the truth. I stand by what I say to this day. It was the truth. People loved it, but somebody was offended. That Sunday, after the minister's speech, I see him and we go to his room and I'm so nervous. Oh, I'm nervous because I don't want to disappoint him. I don't want him to think I'm being bad and rebellious and I was causing a riot and getting young people to take over. You know what I'm saying? I was just speaking the truth, bottom line. And the minister saw me and he said, "There's my soldier." And I saluted him and I bowed and I hugged him and he gave me some instructions and some advice about my speech. And he told me he heard it and he just told me how to keep going in the face of adversity. And I needed that because that was the most, I had never been publicly
chastised.
Yeah, chastised. Like I was like, what? Especially for speaking. Like I was like, what? Like, the people going crazy. And the minister's love and how he handled me. Because if he would have said anything, if he would have chastised, I would have been through. Right. But he was loving and he understood, and he said, "There's my soldier." He know my heart. He know that I'm here, you know what I'm saying, to ride for the nation. So everything I'm saying, let's go. You know, I think I'm giving an inspiration lecture, you know what I'm saying, whatever. But that's my most fond memory because the minister, he looked me in my eye, he said, "There's my soldier." He know what I'm here for, you know what I'm saying? He know I'm, hey, you know what I'm saying? So that's my most fond memory of him because, yeah, he reassured me that, like, I get it. He understood what I was saying. He understood my motive and Viva la Revolution of the Nation of Islam. Like, I'm very passionate about the nation and the minister and the believers. So he understood my passion and knew what I was saying. So that's my most fond memory of the minister.
Praise Allah. Brother Elijah Mo sent me the alley-oop. So I'm going to go ahead and take it. And we're going to just veer into that direction. So, Brother Joshua, you grew up in the Nation of Islam.
Yes, ma'am.
The two amazing parents were actually instrumental in my development and growth in the Nation of Islam.
Yes, ma'am.
What has that been like for you? Because in the church, like for people who are in the church, the preacher's kids are typically known as like the baddest kids in the church, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And the laborers' kids in the mosque are typically known as the baddest kids in the mosque.
Absolutely.
They have that, that bad reputation of being that. But what has it been like growing up under such influential people in the Nation of Islam? What has that been like for you?
It has been an extreme trial and an extreme blessing. I thank Allah for my parents and their sacrifice, and I thank Allah for my siblings and our sacrifice as well. Not in the sense of, like we say, sacrifice, like some great games, because every believer sacrificed. Sister Faiza, if I speak with her, I guarantee our stories are very similar because her, you know what I'm saying, her father being a man, that's just how it is. And then my Christian friends, lost one, whatever, we all have a struggle. Whenever your parents are in the limelight, it can be a trial. But no trial has been more severe than religious scrutiny, in my opinion. The most judgmental people in the world are religious, whether they Catholic, Muslim, Christian. It's so hard to just grow up and just be regular. Like, oh, he's listening to Lil Wayne. He's a heathen. He's a devil. It's like, oh, you know what I'm saying? So that could be your trial when, especially me, I grew up in Naperville, and a lot of stuff I like is definitely not normalized in Nation of Islam traditional culture. So they like, Josh is like in sync and he's out here watching these superhero movies. And, it's like, oh, you know what I'm saying? It's weird growing up. And many of parents of all religion sometimes forget that you all got to celebrate Christmas, Halloween, grow up, normal, and then accept Islam or accept Christianity or whatever religion it is. When you growing up in it, man, you can't tell me Home Alone is not a good movie because it's not, you know what I'm saying? Because it's a Christmas movie I shouldn't like, you know what I'm saying? That type of thinking, Josh don't like, you know what I'm saying? Just all this Superman because you gotta like the Black Panther instead of the event. You know what I'm saying? I don't subscribe to that. I like Spider-Man. I like, you know what I'm saying? I like regular stuff. And growing up with your parents that way, the pressure is just a little increased, but it was fun. It's a challenge. But then I grew up and I got to meet other people and be like, oh, their parents are strict on them too, and their parents are strict on them too. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. I hope the next generation of parents, we're more relaxed with how we raise our children on certain things, because if you're telling me that if I listen to Eminem, I can't believe that the black man is God, that I don't subscribe to that. That's all I'm saying.
So with that questioning in mind, what does parenting for your generation look like as far as desiring of raising righteous children? Because a lot of times as parents, we can become extreme, especially when we came from that world. And we know all the pitfalls. Like if I bust my head up against 10 walls and I love you so much, I don't want you to bust your head up against not one of those walls. So sometimes as parents, we can become so overbearing and extreme, because Islam, as my brother always says, saved me from a literal pit of fire, right? It has saved most of us from a literal pit of fire. And we try to prevent you guys from even getting touched or singed by the fire. So we become extremists in raising you guys, because what's out there, we live that. And we don't want y'all to experience that. But that struggle for balance is real, which is why the minister gave us a study guide. Like those study guides aren't just for Friday night study group. They are to govern our lives.
Yes, ma'am.
So give us an idea of what that parenting paradigm should look like.
What should like, or what it is? What it should look like, what it is, or what it should be?
What you think it should be. Because you're saying that how most of us, from my generation and up, we were extreme. We were hitting the hammer,
Yes, ma'am.
And you said you desire for this next generation of parents to be a lot more, I guess, open?
Balance.
What does that openness look like to you? Like, what is the give and take?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your question. What I see right now is, I think many people who came up under that are extreme in the opposite way. Where some of us are like, okay, so we couldn't go to haunted houses and stuff. So now we're gonna go to haunted houses and make my children dress up every day and do every pagan holiday and boom, which is extreme in the other way, as opposed to being like, okay, we can dress up, but not do it on Halloween. Or you can be a Superman and a princess, or we can give you gifts on Savior's Day, so you won't be the only weirdo at your school who doesn't get gifts during Christmas. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a balance. I feel like, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I don't celebrate Christmas because I grew up, one of the guys I played basketball with, his name is Tannenbaum. He was a Jewish kid. He didn't celebrate Christmas either, but he didn't seem weird and awkward because he had Hanukkah. You know what I'm saying? He had his own thing. He didn't wear a yarmulke to school or nothing, but I was like, oh, okay, he's not, like, because it's uncomfortable for me to see everybody getting gifts and I don't get gifts, or see everybody doing this and I don't get. So we just gotta give something instead of take something away, if that makes sense. While taking something. So okay, if y'all celebrating Christmas, everybody's Kwanzaa, even though people don't really be talking about emoji and stuff, whatever, fine. But we gotta give our children gifts so they won't be weirdos.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, this ain't for, we know Santa Claus didn't do it. We know, okay, but you still can buy some new clothes during that time period. Like, you know what I'm saying? Come on, don't make us, I go to haunted houses. I don't believe in worshiping the devil in the Pentagon. Oh, okay, we already know that, but come on, man. You can't tell me Six Flags Fright Fest ain't fun. Like,
it's scary, Josh.
It's that's what I'm saying. Like chainsaws, like we gotta have some, like, there gotta be a way to have fun and be a Muslim. Yeah. Because it is fun to be a Muslim.
Yeah. The minister actually said all work and no play makes Johnny X a dull Muslim.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't ask me what lecture that was, because unlike my husband, I can't tell you it was July 2nd, 2010 at 6:45 in the morning. Like, I'm not my husband. But I remember him saying that. And that stuck for me because I love art. I love all things art. I love poetry events. I love music concerts. I love all of that. That is my relief. That is my outlet. But what you just talked about, my daughter and I were literally just having this conversation the other day when we went to get ice cream. And her thing was, Mom, like, do people even know Eid is coming up on Thursday? Like, why aren't we getting celebratory? Like, we're not festive. Like, where are the gifts? And my husband has always been a stickler with the children need to celebrate Savior's Day. Like, Eid is big. Like, we got moon bounce, candy, fun. Like, it's festive. Savior's Days, they would be getting big gifts. Like, bicycles, TVs, like, what you want, give me a list. Because we don't do Christmas. And not that Savior's Day is replacing Christmas, but this is the reward for your sacrifice as children, and even as us as adults, for striving to walk that narrow path. So we have to make it festive. Like that's our reward. And even with one another, we should be giving one another gifts because that's our reward.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
once you know this way of life, like it's a celebration. Like to wake up in your right frame of mind. Let's celebrate. Let's get Josh a new hat with some bling bling or something. Like
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
it's a
Please, thank you.
celebration. Like it's a celebration. We have
Yes,
to
ma'am.
know this way of life. And once we know this way of life and we go from believing what it is that we believe and actually growing up to knowing what it is that we believe,
Yes, ma'am.
then we'll be able to find some joy in what it is that we claim to believe. Because it's not normal to walk around with a grimace all day, just angry,
Absolutely.
chewing on nails and walking on nails. No, Allah came. That's a reason to smile. Allah came.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Allah
ma'am.
celebrate Allah's coming, So back to you, Josh. So you were born in the Nation of Islam.
Correct.
When did you choose? When did you know that it was for you? When did you decide to accept your own and be yourself? Because as you said, many of the babies who grew up in the nation have decided to leave the one extreme of strict uprightness to go to the polar opposite of doing whatever the hell they want to do.
Yes, ma'am.
What made you choose for yourself? And did you teeter-totter on that fence for a little bit and then decide? Or did you just always know, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to go headstrong with it? And you can choose to answer how deep or how shallow you want.
Yes, ma'am.
No judgment down here.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Thank you for that question. I definitely was did not accept off the top. When I was 16, my family was in emotional turmoil. You know what I'm saying? My father was no longer supreme captain. Finances was hard, and I just couldn't wrap my mind around seeing some people treat you nice one day and mean the other day, based off a post. I didn't understand that. There's some brothers like the brother whose name is Elijah Mo, who that was my homie before, that was my homie after, during, and that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just didn't see. I don't care about people's parents and like, to me, I'm just brotherhood, sisterhood. That's how I'm looking at it. But when that wasn't the reality for myself and my family, that emotion, that spiritually rocked me. Now I couldn't take that. Cause I was like, why you being mean? Yesterday I seen you. Oh, now Savior's Day, you stand over here. You was just talking like I couldn't handle. I couldn't separate getting to Allah through all of that. So I put, you know what I'm saying? I lumped it all together and was like, all right, I'm gonna stay focused on school, sports, clubbing. Shout out to all the phone parties that I went to that helped me prepare me to appreciate the better side of life, because I was addicted to going to clubs. That was my thing. I was partying. My parents thought I was a heathen. You know what I'm saying? My parents thought I was a savage, and you know what I'm saying, I was going to, whatever. Praise be to Allah, saved a wretch like me. In the middle of me going to clubs and partying, I was in the singing group, boy band, if you will, but a cool singer. Let me say like a it was B2K-ish, you know what I'm saying? And we were trying to be famous. And right when we were working on a demo and trying to do all of this performing at these coffee shops and then working on festivals, Savior's Day came around. I had missed like 3 Savior's Days. I was just trying to be like focused on myself. And I remember I was getting dressed. Kanye West was had everybody wearing polos and button-ups, and I was like, I put a polo on. I told my sisters and my brother, my dad, my mom was like, you going to Savior's Day? I was like, I just want to go. Let's go. We going to Savior's Day. I went to Savior's Day. I heard the minister teaching. I don't want to say the wrong. I know the title, but I want to say the wrong building. It was in Chicago, and I remember being in the building with my siblings and my cousin Rashida and Ilyasa and all of them. And the minister, I just feel like when he was speaking, he was talking to me. And it wasn't a guilt thing. It was just like, man, the minister needs help. I felt like I was cool and I could use my resources and my influence to help the Nation of Islam. So I had to stop going to clubs, stop, really just being as extreme one way. I rebelled. I was being rebellious. So I just stopped, heard the minister's lecture, and I was like, all right, I'm back. I'm back. And my mom was happy. My dad was happy. And a lot of the brothers, like Brother Rashad, Brother Benny Mo, Brother, now he's Wazir, Brother Donald, D9, Brother Khalil, they welcomed me back. And they was like, we good to see you back. They was like, we heard about you in Naperville in the suburbs wilding out, boy. We heard you was just, okay. But I I was proud that I could accept Islam on my own. It wasn't forced upon me. It was a decision I made. I missed it. I knew it was the truth. I just didn't know how to separate the politics and I'm not into that. Even now, I'm not into none. I don't care about none of that. I don't want to run for nothing. I don't want to retire. May Allah bless the laborers, your husband, my dad, who are confined to the work. May Allah bless y'all for holding it down. I just like to hear the teachings, come do my help, and go. I don't want to be Game of Thrones. I don't want to fight. I'm not into it. I want the word. I want Islam. I want the spirit. I want the faith. That's what I came for. So when I heard the minister, he spoke to that. And by the grace of God, I've been striving to be upright ever since.
Your testimony is powerful. It reminds me of a gospel song my grandmother, it just reminds me of my grandmother. It's by this old, don't think this is my generation, but it was an old group called the Truthettes.
Okay.
And the lyrics go, I don't want no peanut butter and jelly. I just want my soul to be saved.
Yes, ma'am.
And the child is like, Mom, I'm hungry. And her mother's like, okay, I'm gonna hold on now. Like, I'm gonna make you a sandwich. And she's like, Mom, I'm hungry. She's like, okay, I'm gonna make you a peanut butter jelly. And she's like, I don't want no peanut butter and jelly.
Yes, ma'am.
I want my soul to be saved. You have a testimony, Brother Joshua, right? And your walk to this side only becomes more profound simply because you allowed yourself to be singed by the world.
Praise be to Allah.
So you're not getting these teachings through osmosis, you're getting them from yourself, which makes your foundation more secure.
Praise be to
Like
Allah.
a lot of times when our children just come into the ranks and they're coming for their parents, or they're coming for a mate, or they're coming for whatever the reasons they're coming for, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And they're not coming for themselves, and they're not coming to rotate around the axis of Allah. It's like a house. No matter how many feet and how many levels that house is, if it's built on sand, that house is going to crumble.
Yes, ma'am.
So you were in the world, and your journey coming back allowed you to build your house on concrete.
Praise
because
be to
you're
Allah.
doing it for yourself.
Praise be
And
to
by
Allah.
coming back and doing it for yourself and allowing the words of the minister to bathe and water your soul, look at what you're doing now.
Praise be to
You're
Allah.
helping the minister. You don't need an official title.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
starting people's podcasts. That's a ministry in and of itself. You're laboring.
Praise be to Allah.
And a lot of times we think just because a person has a title makes them more profound. And generally, like, if we can just, I'm praising you, we doing the Jesus factor. Hosanna, Hosanna.
Yes, ma'am.
So in 1 minute, crucify him.
Absolutely.
In the next minute, right? We haven't grown up. When we're at that stage, that means we haven't grown and we don't have Allah completely at our center, because Jesus said, until you do like the least of these, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So we can profess we love this teaching and we're brothers and sisters, but if we're not living that with or without a post, then we really don't know Jesus at all.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you,
Sister
man.
Faisa, before we get into my next series of questions, do we have any other questions from the audience?
Yeah, yes. There's one more question from Brother Elijah Mulligan, and so he says, you are one of the master drill instructors that I enjoy looking at during Savior's Day. What drill instructor do you enjoy looking at? What city or drill instructor made you step your efforts up to be the best?
Brother Elijah Mo, you're going to have to get out of my notes, Brother Elijah Mo. I don't even know you. So you can go ahead and answer that.
Thank you, Sister Faisa, and thank you, Brother Elijah Mo, for your question. For me, it is a sister in Atlanta named Sister Joy Muhammad. She's a junior Vanguard. I think she's about to be a Vanguard now, but she called when she was like 10 years old from Atlanta. She was 7 regions. One day, you know what I'm saying? She's very strong. And I always look, the FOI in Atlanta used to get mad at me because I would say, I don't look to other FOI drill teams to inspire most of the time because we feel like we're better than them. I feel like that's but when I see those junior Vanguard, to me, they're the show at Savior's Day. They pop, 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 pop. It's 30 of them on stage, 40 of them on stage. They hitting and they're DIs in every city. But it's really, of course, I'm biased to Atlanta. Houston Junior Vanguard, they're the dynasty, 5-time champions. Of course, I'm gonna watch them. Of course, I'm gonna watch Chicago Vanguard, Junior Vanguard, Detroit Junior Vanguard. But in Atlanta, the DI, to see her be so small and command 40 people, I mean, command them. And the little and whatever she's saying, even if they never got in a fight before in their life, never swung, never kicked, those girls have a look in their eye that they believe. I'm like, yeah, I like that because I like to fight. So to answer your question, Brother Elijah, it would be Sister Joy. It's they have a spirit of they want it. It's wartime. Let's go, and I vibe off that. I vibe off that.
They believe it. Like the juniors are always my favorite category.
Yes, ma'am.
Vanguard, then the junior FOI, then it's the Vanguard, and then it's the rest of you cats. Like those are the ones that get me going. I love drill, and it was actually drill that made me say, okay, yeah, I'm really ready to join these Muslims and cover my hair up and take off my short skirts and leave my bacon bits alone and all of that. Yes, it was drill. I was in orientation for like a whole year and got to go to Savior's Day 1990 in Detroit. And they allowed everybody. They made what ain't allowed. They made everybody join in during the MGT class.
Praise be to God.
Everybody fall in. I was like, I don't know how to drill. Fall in. Like I can't remember who was calling it, but they were calling it. And it felt like dance to me. It was just so powerful to see everybody moving to the sound of one person's voice and synchronicity. It was just powerful. I love drill. And when I see those babies calling those cadence, like it makes me cry. Like I can never experience a drill without the hairs on my arms standing up.
Exactly.
Without a tear coming out of my eyes. Because those babies are manifesting what it is that we profess to believe and want. Like they're not the future, they're the right now. They are the remembrances of our why.
Yes, ma'am.
Why are we doing this work? Like what's the point if our babies leave and go off to all the haunted houses in Atlanta and DC and Chicago? Like, what is the point? So we're going to have to bridge this gap because as parents, it's a painful thing to see you guys leave this mission. You know, it's painful to us. So even in our radicalness, like y'all going to have to teach us how to love y'all enough to bring y'all back in because Allah swam 9,000 miles to get us.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And even being in the clubs, like y'all not in the clubs with random lost found. Y'all in the clubs with one another.
Absolutely.
Which means that y'all have backward 9,000 miles. Y'all only swam 4,500 miles away.
Yes,
because
ma'am.
once these teachings drop inside of us, we can't go but so far unless we purposely try to constantly wash these teachings up out of us, but they blossom and they grow. So Brother Joshua, you're going to have to help us and the people you bring on, all of the millennials, help us to fish those babies back in because we need y'all. Y'all need us. We have to do this together. Otherwise, the ministers and his family sacrifices will have been in vain. The messenger sacrifices will have been in vain. The master sacrifices will have been in vain.
Can I say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I say something? I wanted to say, for me, the main thing that brought me back was unconditional, a little conditional, because nothing's unconditional, but God, he has conditions. My mother's unconditional love. Mothers have unconditional love, I believe. But the love that I received from a few people can shift the entire, they say Chicago's the meat grinder. It's so cold, and it is. Yeah. And it can be. And I tell my siblings in Atlanta, there are a lot of people in Atlanta, you'd be like, man, I don't want to fight. But there's always a few people who love you unconditionally. Mm-hmm. They don't care about my hat, my dress code. They see me, I love you, something like that means so much. And it's not just to me, but to an entire generation that is not so much of where have you been, but how have you been? Mm. So when people say like, Josh, you be getting the drills, and these people, I get to some of these brothers, they don't never be around. They only come around through drill time. They only come around through this. But when I get them, it's always because of love. Yeah. We all, many of us are starved from love, not just from a sexual, like me and a person love, but a genuine love from the brothers, the sisters. I know when I go to the mosque, which sisters are going to clap if I teach, or which sisters are going to be thank you. I need that cheerleader. So when people say, I just feel like the next generation needs love. Less judging, more love it. We already know, like you said, that the truth isn't already in us. We already know, we say, okay, we know, we understand that. But can you love us enough to just make us want to be around y'all so you can teach us more, if that makes sense?
So what does that love look like, Brother Joshua? Because now you're teaching us. because a lot of times we think we're loving by not, spare the rod, spoil the child, trying not to spoil you guys, right?
Yes,
so a lot
ma'am.
of times we hear the cliches, we know scripture, and a lot of times we confuse it. But what does love look like to you? Some people say love is time, spending time. And then you hear that
Absolutely.
other, and then that other quote is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right?
Absolutely.
What does love look like to you? It's an action, right? What
Yes,
does it
ma'am.
look like to your generation? So when you say we need love, explain that to us.
To me, it's accepting growth. Meaning, if you see me and because I have a beard and you see me at the grocery store and you like, oh, come on, fruit. Oh man, nigga, it's like, man, you didn't even have, just be cool. Man, I wanted to see how it looked. Let me take a picture with it and then we'll move forward. But if you think I'm a heathen or I'm going to hell, my God, you see a brother who he got dreads. Now you can't give him cheek to cheek no more. Cause he gonna come back. So for me, my father always talks about my S curl, which was such a big deal to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I had whatever, regardless of my S curl. But during the time I wasn't at the mosque.
Wait a minute, Josh. Can we go back to the S curl? you tried to joke my generation. What were you doing with an S curl, Josh? You're of a younger generation.
But that's because it wasn't my generation's thing. That's my point. It was a girl I was speaking to, and she was like, you'll look good if you had curly. You got waves, but you look good if your hair is a little curly. So I'm like, okay, cool. What should I do? I didn't know nothing about no S curl or nothing. She gives me the chemicals and all of this. I come home, my siblings, they think I'm crazy already. Josh is doing something with his hair. He's gonna get some curls. You know what I'm saying? This girl said I look good with curls. I'm gonna get some curls. My friend at the time, I haven't seen him since a long time, since high school. Osai was there, and I put it in my hair, and it's supposed to sit for 2 minutes. Then you wash it out. I didn't know nothing about this. I do it. My hair is still the same. He says, do it again. I put it in my hair, 2 minutes. My hair is still the same. He like, bro, let's do it one more time. Now when I do it, it's burning. My scalp is burning. It's on fire. It's very similar to Malcolm X putting his head in the toilet in the Malcolm X movie. Yeah. So now my hair's on fire. He's laughing. He thinks he'll get a kick out of it. My siblings laugh when they see it. It does curl up, but now it's burnt orange, if you will. My parents say blonde. It was a different color. I burnt my hair, if you make sense. You know what I'm saying? I burnt my hair, but it was curly. I wore it, and when I saw people with that hair, it's almost like, oh, because your hair a different color, or now I'm Cisco. Now I'm, you know what I'm saying? Now I'm a sad. Now I'll be the equivalent of a young thug. Like, oh, now this nigga, he done lost his mind completely.
Right.
I'm still your brother. What's changed? Yeah. I'll still, if something happened to your moms, your sisters, I'm on deck. Something you need to call, I'm there for you. I'm your brother. But because my hair, I'm going to hell now. Like that's I think the next generation has to be sisters with makeup. That's a huge thing. Like people be like, oh, she got a makeup on. She's a whore. She's a thought. Like, it's like, damn.
Right.
That's the same girl we watch grow. Like she's 19, whatever. I'm still gonna fight. Like I'm still gonna boom. Like, yeah, now she got 4-inch heels on. She's a porn star. Like what? like that extreme. As opposed to just being like, man, we right here with you. What's up? Like I don't even notice people's hair. I don't care about no girls' heels and that. Man, that's my sister. What's up? That's what people. That's a love. I'm loving you through this thing. Whatever it is, I'm not even addressing it. I don't even. I know there's certain brothers on my drill team. You know, when I was really hands on, I smell weed. I smell the black and mad. But I didn't even think about that. What's up? Let's talk. What's up? What's going on? If something's going on, I'm not going to address, because now all what that can do is you can make us better liars. So if I know that you care about my hair, I put my hat on. Now you don't know that my hair is a different color. Mm-hmm. So if the sisters, let me take these heels off because I'm about to go see some Muslims. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? The heels, you gonna put them back on, but now you just took them off. So now the dude, okay, let me spray some blunt blocker so I won't smell like no gas or no loud. That ain't change. Like, no, let's just address bro, that's my brother, my sister. He's going through something. I'm not addressing that right now. I'm here if you need something, I'm here for you. Yeah. That's unconditional love to me.
Okay. Well, thank you for teaching us on that space of love.
And thank you for roasting my hair, Sister Tracy.
We need pictures, Brother Joshua. We need So, audience, if you have any questions, please post them in the comment box. Put questions in all caps, and then post your question, and Sister Faisa will read them to us. Do we have any questions, Sister Faisa? No. Okay. So, Brother Joshua, we are nearing that 1 hour mark.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
we have a few questions still. But you let me know how much time we have. We don't want to abuse this. I thank you for giving me this opportunity to have you in the
It's my honor.
Yes, sir. So I guess my next question will be, with this next phase of the minister's departure and the criterion and everything that the minister says he has to go through, and the Joshua generation so happens to be your name. It's a generation that always gets applauded for taking the work to the next level.
Yes, ma'am.
The older generations become too stuck. How does this dispensation of time feel to you? And what do you feel is your duty during this time?
Well, thank you for that heavy, very deep question, Sister Tracy.
You're welcome. You can feel free to answer it as heavy or light as you so.
Yes, ma'am. I believe that's a very important question, and I thank you for that. I feel that in this time, it's an uneasiness for, we've known the Most High Louis Farrakhan our entire life, from afar or close. That's all we've known. So to hear him say they're going to arrest him, he's got to be betrayed, and then we won't see him for a time period, that's a challenge. That's a trial, because we're not used to it. So the easy answer is steadfast, move forward, act like everything's okay. The reality for me is just trying to make an adjustment to being like a Savior's Day without the minister, especially somebody who likes to drill. I drill for the minister and the believers. That's what brings the passion. So if I'm not drilling the drill competition the last few years, I'm focused on school, I get that. But the greatest joy for me with drilling is Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan got to see. You know what I'm saying? Now you ain't there. That can become a challenge, not for motivation, but just like that's an adjustment, because I love you so much. I understand why you have to go. I understand I get that. After you make the adjustment, now let's make him proud in the work that we do, so that he can be pleased on his return. I want him to find us believers strong, but especially the ones who were born and conceived in his understanding.
Yeah.
I feel there's a special, I always speak to the brothers, we call each other nation babies or descendants, people who can, you know what I'm saying? We the next generation, we born in this. It's something, it's a different responsibility for the brothers who come in the newer.
Yeah.
They have their role. Praise be to Allah. And I'm rooting for y'all. I'm rooting for everybody who comes in and accept their role. And I pray we all here when the minister leaves. But for us who were born in this, we can't walk away in this time. We can't abandon the ship in this time. We have to do something to help the man who saved our life, for regardless of the imperfections of those around or that, this is that, he has been good and faithful to us. And for him, it's who we owe our allegiance to outside of Allah and the messenger. We owe the minister, to help him and to not let him come back to hell no. It's on us. And I take it personal to help him in some way in his absence. I feel like that's personal. I feel like, come on, y'all, let's do it for the minister. An outdated reference, but a reference nonetheless, because I like, movies. In the movie You Got Served, I know y'all was thinking I was going to say some Godfather or some deep movie, but I know in the movie You Got Served, when Little Saint was killed and there was disunity in the groups, you know what I'm saying? They came back together and they said, let's do it for Little Saint. And they put on a great dance performance. I was watching that the other day, that's why I said that. But I feel like it's the same thing with the minister in his absence. There are people I haven't spoken to in years over small, petty stuff. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Let's come back to, let's do it for the Most High Louis Farrakhan. That's my heart. That's my goal, is that when I'm hearing him, I'm seeing him speak and he's saying they're going to arrest me and this is the garden of, all of that. It's a tough pill to swallow. Now, those who took an oath and who was born, come on, let's go to war. We got to fight for Islam. That's my heart. That's my passion. So to answer your question, I feel like the Joshua generation, next generation, has to love the minister, love Allah enough, love the risen and exalted Christ enough, but love the Messiah, the Most High Messiah Farrakhan enough to fight for Islam in every city and show love to each other. Because I can't. That was my thing. Why I had my trial the first time. And it make no point for me to tell you how much you love the minister, but you don't love me.
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to that. So if we love the minister and love this, and I gotta be nice to Sister Tracy, show love to this random brother over here, this random. I don't know y'all. You a believer? There's only 5% of us in the whole world. What's up? That's my brother. That's my sister. We riding for each other. And in the absence of the minister, I believe, according to what he has told us, the judgment of Allah will increase, and it's a fight. So we gotta lock arms, cover down, and fight in the name of Allah. That's my goal.
And that's beautiful. It just makes me think about the Quran when it says, if Muhammad is killed or slain, will you then turn your heels and
yes, ma'am.
And every time I make my prayer, I'm asking Allah to please have mercy on the minister. Please let him know that his sacrifices have not and are not in vain, have not been and are not in vain. If we turn our heels, we're not just turning our heels on Allah who came. We're not just turning our heels on the messenger. We're not just turning our heels on the minister. We're destroying our future.
Yes, ma'am.
We're destroying our right now. Like, the minister hasn't done all that he has done, and he's not doing all that he's doing just to be seen of men.
Yes, ma'am.
Passion work. He could have been a millionaire, singing and dancing and shucking and jiving. Like, he could have been doing
yes,
all.
Ma'am.
But he put his passion of the arts to the side because he was passionate about the hearts of the people. And if we have an open book test. We saw what happened when the Elijah Muhammad departed, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And for anybody who's ever been a student in school, you know that open book tests tend to be 10 times harder.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's assumed that you had notes.
You teaching.
It's assumed that you know where to get the answers. So we have an open book test. We can't afford to fail the test. We were told that the nation would fall once, never to fall again. But the only way that could be possible is if we stand firm. You always ask the question about the 10 toes down.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do? What do you go to? What is your source? What is your point of reference to keep you grounded? When it feels like your faith is wavering, when it feels like you're not getting the love that's necessary to stay put, what is your go-to? Is there a surah, a song, an ayat, a lecture, a study guide, a book? What's your reference?
I thank you for that question. It is the vision. I know we're not idol worshipers and things of that, but when I see Savior's Day and I see the minister and I see the believers standing, that gives me hope. When I see the sister that was talking about Joy and the drill team and those youth, that gives me a purpose because I gotta fight. I feel like I'm a superhero person. I love superheroes, and there are always men who they walk around, they look like they're regular, but at some point they put a cape on to go to war, and then they go back in and they walk around everybody else. I feel like I'm obligated when I see the minister saviors and I see the sisters and somebody got to be here just in case. Somebody got to be the people like I'm going to up. Hey, we right here, and we ain't too far. And I'm talking about there's so many of us in every city. Like, oh, I don't know this person that they're one call away, and then at some point everybody goes to become activated in the name of Allah. So I just feel like if I get down, put the minister on, it could be a song. For me, it's most likely some trap music, some angry, some rap music or something. That's just me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh yeah, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Because I just get the spirit like that. But when I see the youth and when I see the sisters, I just feel like my dad and my mother, they just made me be. You gotta protect your sister. You gotta protect the sisters. You gotta protect the sisters. You gotta protect it. So anytime I see sisters who cover their hair, headpiece, not cover their hair, boom, boom. But when I see the Junior Vanguard, and I see them lined up and you see the little babies and they got their headpiece and they think the world is peaches and they just think it's so sweet. There has to be men who make it stay that way for them, at least, even though it's not the reality for the entire world right now.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, Brother Joshua, is it a surah that you love the most out of any?
Yes, ma'am.
A go-to surah?
Yes, ma'am. It would be the last surah in the Quran when it talks about with listening to the slinking devil when he whispers in your ears into the hearts of men and the men of, that surah 114. And um, the reason that is the case is because when the minister told us to study those last two surahs, um, seed dropping is powerful.
Yeah.
Seed dropping can be either negative seed or a positive seed.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I've seen myself and people affected just by something somebody said. You like, damn, I don't even know him. I don't even like you because somebody said that you was, so I have to be careful. We have to be careful of who we let whisper into our ear. Yeah. So I listen when I read that surah. It's very important for me because I try to feed myself positivity, motivation, inspiration. I don't have time for negativity because the world is negative enough. That's how I feel. So that's my favorite surah because of that, for that reason, because it makes me guard my mind. You know what I'm saying? It makes me guard. I would listen to music than listen to gossip about people I know that's going to hurt me or make me change my view on somebody. It throw me off. Yeah. So I'm very careful what I listen to and who I listen to. That makes sense.
Awesome. Sister Faisa, any questions? Okay, go ahead.
Yep, there's one last question. So it's from Sister Naima. So she wants to know when you are going to settle down with the Queen.
Naima.
Good question, Naima. Good question.
Sister Naima, my Lord,
Well, it's only fair because you do bring couples on all the time. Thank you, Naima, because you and Elijah Moore are like in my head. I'm like, okay.
Yes, ma'am. I intend to accomplish a few more degrees, and then I will be looking to settle down for Queen Naima.
Okay. So why a few more degrees, Brother Joshua?
Yes, ma'am. I'm focused on school right now. I'm focused. The same passion I had for years for security, protecting the minister, teaching the nation. I went, I'm a zealot with that. I was for, what I'm saying? I have to be the same for school, house, home, money, friendship. I gotta get there's certain things I just want to accomplish by myself. Okay. To stand on my own, on my own too. And then once I feel like I'm good enough, then I'll look and say, hey, girl, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. As opposed to the oft-repeated negative stereotype about, Black men. We always scamming, hustling. We got to get a woman to help. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to break the negative stereotypes. I want us to get it, come up the legal way, and then get a woman and get a queen. Thank you, Naima.
That's a good process. That's a good process. And it's probably why you're always taking notes and asking questions with your couples and relationships.
Absolutely.
Segment under the People's Podcast umbrella.
Yes, ma'am.
So yeah, take your time. Don't play around with anybody.
Absolutely not.
So don't play courtship and marriage.
Absolutely.
Just save yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Until you're really ready and you've
absolutely.
Okay, so I guess my next question for you, Brother Joshua. There were no more questions, right, Faisa? Okay. So my next question for you, Brother Joshua, would be, what are the greatest things that you've learned from your parents for this way of life? What are your greatest takeaways from your parents?
Yes, ma'am. Well, speaking of relationships and love, thank you for the question as well. The greatest thing that I've learned from my parents is loyalty to Allah, His messenger, the minister. I can go do a whole podcast on how their loyalty to the believers and to the nation and to religion, but to themselves, during the quarantine, during my mother's, I've just seen side out of my parents that I've never seen as much. Maybe I wasn't aware of it or I just didn't pay attention. But I see my father and my mother just so cakey. Oh, God, you know what I'm saying? Baby, this is sugar. Oh, gee, to see my father take care of my mother the way he does now, I'm just like, that's why I'm telling my sisters always make jokes about when I'm get a queen. I don't love nobody like that. Like, I don't know what that is. You know what I'm saying? For sickness and health, like, that's real. And that's what I see is like, if you're going to get married, bro, it's going to be ups and downs. I seen my father when he was down financially. I see my mom's kick in and got to cover down. And I see my mom when she's down in health. I see how my dad covers down for her. That's my greatest takeaway is you got to make your word bond. If you take an oath, you know what I'm saying? You put your hand on the Quran, and I don't play with marriage. You know what I'm saying? So my greatest takeaway is love. Like, you want to see love and you want to see years and Then you look, and I'm looking at him, and I'm just like, oh God, like it's very notebook. It's very notebookish the way I look at them now.
I
It's
love
like,
that movie.
yeah, it's very Noah and Allie. Like, oh, y'all old, y'all just taking care of each other. That's how I look at my parents now. Like, oh, that's so cute. You know what I'm saying? So that's my greatest takeaway is like, in the end, it's not about posts or money or titles, or it's just about who you with in the end. You know what I'm saying? Who you chose to grow with. That's what I got from them. I'm looking like, when ain't nobody else around, everybody quarantined, I'm looking at them, I'll be like, my mom's and my dad still together by the grace of Allah, still fighting, still. And my dad, he just, to see him go from so much like 50 Cent to be so much like a T.I., you know what I'm saying, the future, strong, tough, you know what I'm saying, cool. To see him act like Drake with my mom, it's like, you know what I'm saying, it's like, you real R&B-ish right now, Dad. You know, you real singing, you know, you real singing right now. So to see him, that gives me hope to be like, maybe, you know, that's what love is. Like, you know, everybody's all like, I love you, sugar mama, and, you know, so that's my greatest takeaway, is to see my parents be simpy with each other and be like, in the end.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That means it's always been there. You just weren't privy to seeing it there.
Yes,
Doesn't
ma'am.
just manifest during the quarantine. That just means y'all get to see it because we don't have any place else to go. So we're all
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
seeing each
ma'am.
other a lot more these days. So that's special. So I want you to tell the young people, the ones who have been born in this nation, I want you to give a PSA and a message to possibly bring them back home. What would your message to the nation's babies who are now wandering in the wilderness, those 4,500 miles away? What could you say to them to
Yes,
try to
ma'am.
inspire them to come back home?
Thank you for your question, ma'am. I would say,
No, say it. Don't say
oh
what
yes,
you.
ma'am. Oh, I'm saying,
This is our plea to them.
oh yes, ma'am. Remember who you are. Remember that Master Fard Muhammad chose you individually, chose us individually, and it's not by accident that we are here. I want to have fun, and I can have fun, and you can have fun and still be a Muslim. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Most Honorable Farrakhan are divinely guided, and they gave us something that can save our life and save the lives of others. I believe in loyalty. I believe in staying on code. I believe that if we fall, when we fall short, to get back up and never to fully turn or let go of the doorknob of a lie. And, you know, I understand that, but don't turn. I watch mafia movies. I watch sports movies. We just can't turn. We don't switch sides on us. You can fall short. You can be retired. You can be not be in active duty right now, but you can never work against what we like. Nah, you can't be on the other side. So if you just because you're not in active duty right now, you still understand the code. You still understand that, you know, what the oath we took. Fine. Just know that right now and very soon, it's gonna be some active duty around here. That's all I'm saying. Very soon, we all gonna be called, and we all gonna have to bear witness to who the Most High Farrakhan is. Point number 12. Everything that we have been taught our whole life is the truth. It's not a lie. And the world is going to have to, they're going to look for us to bear witness to it. And I'm looking personally at myself first, my family, but then my friends. Man, if you my homie, you my brother, in the dark hour, and you don't stand up, it's over. Yeah. I can't honor you. I'll never know, because I don't care about what we were and what we used to be, because I don't care about all of that. But in the time, we're going to be called to account to stand on what we believe in. And I'm praying to Allah that I stay strong in this hour, and that I bear witness to who you got. We want to testify. Most of Mr. Farrakhan said he would not say one word when they come get him. We gonna have to testify to who he is. And I'm telling every millennial, we all got a story. We all see him in a different type of way. But if you know who he is, you won't have to say something. Bottom line.
You're literally like walking yourself into my next question, because yes, I was literally about to ask you. You're on the witness stand, and the minister said he can't use any silent witnesses. Silent witnesses won't work.
Yes, ma'am.
What is your testimony? What has your life been like walking with the minister? How has your life changed walking with the minister?
Beautiful question, ma'am. I would have had 10 strip clubs, been a pimp, and I would have robbed and killed people in broad daylight if it was not for the Most High Merciless Farrakhan. I would have been Satan in flesh if it was not for that man. I know for sure my anger issues and my attractiveness, my ability with women, I would have been hell, man. I would have been a deadbeat. I would have had 50 kids. I would have definitely been a murderer because my temper, I would have like, you say something, I'm going to kill you. And I would have just been a negative stereotype if it was not for the Most High Mr. Farrakhan saving my life. By the grace of God, I don't have any children. I'm not a baby. I'm saying, like, I'm striving so hard. Even in my fall, like, I still like, nah, I still hear his voice. He made me better. He strive to be upright. At least try to. He gave me an example to know there's one good black man in the world. Of course, there's many, but at least the Most High Mr. Farrakhan gave me a measuring stick to be like, nah, bro, we can't go that way. Because in this world, it's so easy for us to go. We extreme. Black men, especially black people, but black men, we extreme in whatever we do. So we extreme right, we're gonna be extreme wrong. So everything I am and was able to be a little bit in right, I always think about that, man. If it wasn't for the minister, I know for sure I would have been a pariah on the community, and I would have been, in my opinion, I think I would have been Al Capone or something. Like I think I would have tried to be a gangster in the worst, but like I know that for sure. I would have tried to do the most, and the minister stopped that. He showed me how to take a curse and give a blessing. One for your brother, what you want for yourself. Like I know a lot of people would have been dead if it was not for the Most High Mr. Farrakhan, and that's what I would say. And a lot of sisters would have been destroyed, and families would have been destroyed based off of me. Like, oh, you like me, you love me, let's get a kid, because how our children gonna look? Let's buy some cute shoes and everything that's like niggerly in people's minds. That would have activated. And I would have had 50 children. I'd have been like, but we play basketball together. We play, you know what I'm saying? Broken families. It would just been bad. It would have been all bad if it was not for the Most High Mr. Farrakhan. So I thank him for standing up. And for me, yes, that's my like. It would have been hell on black people. It would have been hell, and on white people. Every race would have got it if it was not for the Most High Mr. Farrakhan. Because if you grew up in this world as a black man, getting frustrated, with no proper understanding of why we're here and all, you gonna lash out. And the minister gave us proper understanding, so to not go another way. So I thank Allah for him.
So normally you have like 500 subscribers that normally subscribe to this channel, that helps this channel to keep going.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
Before we end with our final 2 questions, I just want to ask everybody, if you got 5 on it, right?
Yes,
Brother Joshua does this podcast, and he has a very minimal goal of raising money so that he can continue to build out his studio, so that he can continue to do this work. You can feel his love in what he does. So I'm asking for all of us to at least put 5 on his Cash App.
Okay.
If you want to add on to the list of people who he's going to eventually have to have his streaming down of all the names, because he has so many people who are pouring into his ministry here. Because this is the ministry. So can you give us your Cash App information, Brother Joshua?
Yes, ma'am. Cash App the People's Podcast. I'm truly humble, Sister Tracy, because I was never asked. But yes, ma'am, Cash App the People's Podcast.
Yeah. And just a humble $5. He's not going to use your money to buy another litany of hats. He has enough. He has quite a few hats. He may get a few more posters to finish building out his studio. Yes, but he has other equipment needs that he wants. And as a nation, like, it takes a village. All of us. So I'm going to send you some Cash App love, Brother Joshua.
Oh, thanks, Sister Tracy. I appreciate that.
And for everybody else, if you don't know, his sisters are normally on here. I should have asked you to send me the list of all the people. But Mimi's, ABC, I Love Me, your dad's books.
Yes,
books are awesome, by the way. Your brother's studio, your sister's On Point Dance Studio.
Yeah, that's it. That's
quite a few people who got clothing stores and bean pies and neckties and French fries and all kinds of stuff. I don't have the list in front of me, but I'm so honored to be given this opportunity to harass you, Brother Joshua.
It's my honor.
And I thank you for not allowing me to give you questions in advance. And honestly, if you notice, I wasn't even looking at the questions that I wrote. I just asked Allah to guide us, and I pray that something of what we've shared today in this moment has been beneficial. Sister Faisa, has anybody else posted any questions? No more questions. I guess the people are shy, or I guess they said Sister Tracy asking enough already. You're doing the most. So, Brother Joshua, I guess my next to the last question will be, what do you want your legacy to be?
Yes, ma'am. I would like my legacy to be that I was loyal to the oath that I took, and that I'm loyal in my own way. Like my loyalty is 100%. I'm 10 toes down. I'm always gonna be a believer. I'm gonna fight with y'all, right? But I will absolutely dress. I will speak how I speak. I will be an actor. I'm gonna write books. I'm listening to music. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do it my way. And but I'm gonna stay 10 toes down, inshallah. That's my goal. Is that he did it. He was a believer. He was strong. He was a fighter for the people, for his family. I protected those who were weak. I want to be remembered as somebody who protected the weak. You know what I'm saying? You can't violate nobody in front of me, whether it's a man, woman, child. I stood up, but I did it my way though. Like I didn't. I'm not a carbon copy of anybody. I'm unique. I'm Joshua, but I was loyal. Like nah, he took an oath. He said what he was going to do. He did it, and by the grace of God, I don't turn back on my heels. If that makes sense.
So, Brother Joshua, earlier on, you said that you were part of a boys group.
Yes, ma'am.
So, can you take us home? Can you give us a Zodi effect? Because that young sister was powerful. So can you give us a Joshua Zodi effect?
Yeah.
Your favorite? What is your favorite song, Brother Joshua? And can you give us a little rendition of that?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, no, ma'am, I'm not going to sing. Yes, ma'am. No, I was a part of a group called Fantasy. Shout out to Big Aaron, Rob, and Brandon Marshall Todd. It was cool. I don't have anything prepared, Sister Tracy. I wish you would
know
know.
What? No, sir.
I was not prepared to sing anything.
Your voice cords are a little dry.
Yeah, a little bit, but yeah, but I heard yours. I didn't know you sang. I didn't know you sang.
In the shower, in the closet, just a little. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know you sang, but yes, ma'am. I don't have any. I don't want to break the internet right now. Is what I'm saying. I don't want to.
What?
I don't want to break the internet. It would cause so many views and shares. It's not about me today. Today it's just about being humble right now. I don't want to really want to flex my voice.
I'll just call you. Okay. So, Brother Joshua, I want to thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to flip the script on the People's Podcast umbrella, off the record, with me and you, Brother Joshua. Sister Faisa, thank you so much for tag teaming with your mom, so I wouldn't have to figure out all these tablets and computers and what's the Zoom and how do I get the code? So you saved your mom an extra gray hair and 2 more wrinkles. And people who are watching, thank you guys so much. Please support Brother Josh. Cash App, $, the People's Podcast. Put at least 5 on it. If you have more than 5, give a little bit more than 5. If you feel like somebody in your city would be an amazing person to be interviewed, please introduce them to Brother Joshua. He loves interviewing the believers around the world in the Nation of Islam. We all have stories to tell. And it's going to take all of us not being silent witnesses to what Islam has done for us, for what the minister's intervention in our lives have been, for what, without having these books of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in his presence and knowing that he's still alive, for Master Fard coming 9,000 miles to save us, and that even when our mustard seeds are withering and falling in between the crevices of our hands, we know that we belong to a nation that will uphold us, who will remind us that when we're gone, that we are missed. So please, introduce them to Brother Joshua, tag them to the People's Podcast, subscribe and like on his YouTube channel, check him out, support their works. He's going to give you the litany of all the works that they have done. And I just want to say thank you, Brother Joshua. I pray to Allah that this interview has been good for you, and that I did not get too personal beyond everything. Please let your mom know that she stays in my prayers by name and every prayer that I make. Please thank your dad for his loyalty and for him showing his sensitive side, because when you're in that labor, you have to be like chewing rocks and stuff, you know, you have to show that side. But that soft side is always there, and you can always tell the man by the woman that's beside him, that's upholding him. So I'm glad that he's getting to show you that. Thank you for your siblings upholding your family and staying in, struggling for that balance. Thank you for all the millennials who are showing us that our sacrifices have not been in vain. And
Allahu
thank you
Akbar.
for the babies who are continuously helping us to remember our why. So may Allah bless us all. Do you have any last comments you want to give to the people, Brother Joshua?
Yes, ma'am. I want to thank you again, Sister Tracy. I was very anxious and nervous as well because you asked me to interview me. I want to thank Sister Faiza. I want to thank your family. I want to shout out to your daughter who I hadn't seen since she was younger. Um, I love her and your son, and I just love your family. And may Allah bless you all, and thank you all for your sacrifice. Thank you, Sister Faiza, for your sacrifice and holding it down in the murder capital of the East Coast, the home of the wire, Baltimore, Maryland. So I appreciate that.
Don't listen to the media. Like, Baltimore's beautiful. I can't wait till quarantine is over so you can come to Baltimore to experience the beauty. Like, you will have an awesome time. The art scene here is amazing. Like, every night, spoken word, live music, live bands, the theaters, all of that, Brother Joshua. When Allah blesses us to open up, like, you have to come to Baltimore. So after Brother Andrew and my husband and all of them take you in the historic districts and all of that stuff, then I'll be like, all right, Brother Josh, come on. The open mic tonight. Come on, let's go.
Let's go. I'm with it. I'm with it.
Yeah, that's my go-to. Like, that's my outlet. I love the open mic scene. So
yes, ma'am.
we can definitely go when the love blesses us. Sister Fight, I'll put you on the spot, babe. Is it anything you want to say?
No. Well, thanks for everyone for watching and asking a few questions. But yeah, that's it.
and there are no more questions, right?
No, there aren't any.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for riding with us. This has been a long ride, Brother Josh.
Thank you very much.
We did it.
Yes, ma'am, we did it.
All of that, we did it. Thank you for the opportunity. May Allah continue to bless us all. Stay prayed up, family. Keep the mask on, sanitizer on deck. Yeah, we still sheltering in place.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I love you guys. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, man. Hey, you gotta close it, Sister Faiza. You gotta end the meeting.